imagine how physically punishing it was for Tom to be on the wing.
It's been 29 years since the first Mission Impossible came out. Yes, 29 years. Millennials, let that sink in. This is a very special movie franchise, not only for us, the millennials who grew up watching it, but also for our parents, especially our fathers, who used to love these films and watch them back in the day. I vividly remember watching the first part in an army mess at the time when VCDs had just come into being. Back then, I was in the fifth standard, barely able to understand English as a language. All the children elder to me at that party went gaga over that movie and kept discussing it for days to come, especially that iconic helicopter in the tunnel scene. So, overcome with nostalgia and a lot of excitement, I walked into an IMAX this morning to watch the eighth and supposedly the last chapter of this long running franchise. Yes, I say supposedly, but more on that later. This is a 100% spoiler free review so that you guys can go to the theater and experience this movie unfold on your own. This movie picks up directly after the events of the last part, The Dead Reckoning, where Ethan Hunt is now on the run with the key to the rogue AI named the Entity. This entity has its evil plan of destroying the world and creating a new world order. With this film, we are shown the entity reaching the penultimate stages of its plan of world domination. With both the IMF and Gabriel on the chase to get that key, Ethan Hunt must do everything to not let that key fall into the wrong hands. At the same time, also stopping the entity from executing its final stage of the plan. So here are the things that I liked about this film. The narration. It uses some callbacks to the earlier parts in this franchise to add new context to the story at hand. But the makers are not fixating over it and avoid any long drawn flashback scenes. The callbacks are subtle, yet enough to set context for someone who has not watched those particular previous parts. The action. Tom Cruise is the last of the Hollywood superstars who has consistently provided a bang for the buck for every audience member. At 62, he's still dangling from planes, jumping over the buildings, and running like it's no one's business. Apart from the heavily promoted plane sequence in the movie, my personal favorite has to be the deep water sequence involving Ethan Hunt inside the sunken Russian vessel named Sevastopol that we saw sinking at the beginning of Dead Reckoning. I could feel shivers down my neck witnessing this entire sequence on IMAX. This has to be hands down one of the best action set pieces in the history of the entire Mission Impossible franchise. Building the stakes. Mission Impossible movies have never been known for this storytelling, well, except for the first part. The makers have never claimed anything different, as these movies stand tall on the strength of their breathtaking action and fast paced thrills. But what I especially loved about this final chapter was how the screenplay builds the stakes at hand. At multiple places, the stakes are not just explained to the audience through expositions. One could almost feel the actual tension and wonder how the hell is Ethan Hunt going to get out of this situation and save the day this time. The choices that this character is presented with in this film are actually impossible, making this final chapter really earn its title. That being said, the movie is not without its hiccups. One problem that I felt with this movie was its uneven pacing. At 2 hours 50 minutes, this could feel like a really long movie. There are long drawn sequences of drama where Ethan Hunt is reminiscing about his past mistakes, but it doesn't land because the reasons feel forced. There are side characters repeating dialogues like, "It's the end of the world, the humanity is about to end." I was like, I know about these things already. Please don't repeat them every 5 minutes. The problem is that this franchise has never claimed or built itself towards an emotionally rewarding storytelling. So, any such melodramatic scenes here, which are plenty in this part, feel hollow and are deterrents to the otherwise thrilling events of the film. Talking about being emotionally hollow, I feel this supposedly last part of the franchise is not actually the end of Ethan Hunt. Remember the send off that the Fast and the Furious franchise gave to its star Paul Walker upon his death? It made even the tough ones in the theater develop a lump in their throats. But the end of this film kind of left me wanting more. The mission at hand was complete, but the fate and destinies of these characters kind of felt like they were left in a limbo. Ethan Hunt deserves better. But overall, this is technically a solid, even bigger movie than its previous parts. Although there are hardly any IMAX shots in the first half, the submarine scene and the plane scene towards the climax are reasons enough for you to buy an IMAX ticket this weekend and witness this movie on the biggest screen.